Imagine this. It's 2 a.m. and you're jolted awake by a stabbing ache in your knee. You try to roll over, but the joint feels locked stiff as if someone poured cement into it while you slept. Your fingers ache when you reach for a glass of water, and standing feels like balancing on broken glass. For many seniors, this terrifying scenario isn't just bad luck. It's the cruel reality of joint inflammation creeping in overnight. Most people blame age, wear and tear, or even the weather. And yes, aging does change your cartilage and bones. But here's the shocking truth. I need you to hear one of the biggest culprits might not be your years. It might be a vegetable you thought was perfectly healthy. That's right. A food you may be eating daily without a second thought could be fueling the swelling, stiffness, and degeneration inside your joints. As an orthopedic doctor, I've treated countless patients who believed they were doing everything right, exercising gently, taking supplements, even eating what they thought was a balanced diet. Yet they still ended up with pain so severe it stole their independence. One woman, 72-year-old Mrs. Huang, came into my clinic in tears. She had always prided herself on staying active, but recently she could barely make it down her front steps. Her knees were swollen like balloons, her hands puffy and stiff. She confessed she'd been eating tomato soup almost every night, believing it was a wholesome, heart-friendly choice. What she didn't know was that certain compounds in tomatoes can trigger inflammation in sensitive joints, and her body had been quietly paying the price. This is why I am speaking to you with urgency. Joint pain is not just discomfort, it's a warning signal. Left unchecked, it can spiral into arthritis, loss of mobility, falls, and even fractures that rob seniors of their independence. Every step becomes harder, every night becomes more restless, and every day feels like a battle against your own body. And yet, here's the most surprising part. It isn't always the obvious junk food or bad habits causing this. Sometimes it's the vegetables on your plate. The very foods marketed as healthy or natural can, for some seniors, act like gasoline poured on the fire of inflammation. And if you don't know which ones to watch out for, you could be unknowingly sabotaging your own joints with every bite. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another health tip made just for you. If you enjoy this video, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to let me know how I can make better content for you. Today, I'm going to walk you through 9 common foods, especially certain vegetables that could be quietly damaging your joints and destroying your mobility. Each one might seem harmless, but as I'll show you, the risks are real, the science is sobering, and the patient stories are unforgettable. So let's begin with one of the most surprising culprits, a vegetable many seniors eat every week, believing it supports heart health and immunity, when in fact it may be slowly stealing your ability to walk without pain. Tomatoes, bright red and often hailed as a superfood, are a staple on countless dinner tables. Rich in vitamin C, potassium, and lycopene, they've been praised for supporting heart health and protecting against cancer. But here's the twist. Most seniors never hear about tomatoes belong to the nightshade family, a group of vegetables that contain a chemical compound called solanine. For many older adults, especially those already struggling with arthritis, solanine can quietly fuel inflammation, swelling, and stiffness in the joints. This doesn't mean every senior who eats tomatoes will suffer, but if you've noticed your knees or hands ache more after enjoying pasta with tomato sauce, or if your morning juice leaves you with throbbing fingers later that night, your body may be trying to send you a message. I've seen this pattern too often to ignore. Take Mr. Raymond, a 66-year-old retired carpenter. He came to me after months of worsening joint pain. His knuckles were swollen and his knees burned whenever he tried to climb stairs. He assumed it was just aging and hard work catching up with him. But when I asked about his diet, he admitted he had tomatoes every single day, sliced on sandwiches, stewed in soups, even raw with salt as a snack. He had read about their heart benefits and believed he was making a wise choice. What he didn't realize was that his daily tomato intake was quietly aggravating his arthritis. When we asked him to cut tomatoes and other nightshades out of his meals for a trial period, something remarkable happened. Within 2 weeks, his morning stiffness was noticeably reduced. After a month, he could make a fist without pain for the first time in years. His face lit up when he told me he could finally hold his granddaughter's hand tightly again, something he thought he'd lost forever. Medically speaking, the explanation lies in how aging joints respond to inflammatory triggers. As we grow older, cartilage thins and the cushioning between bones wears down. At the same time, the immune system becomes more sensitive, sometimes overreacting to certain compounds. Solanine is one such trigger. While harmless to many people and seniors with arthritis, it can amplify the body's inflammatory response, worsening joint pain that might otherwise be manageable. Now let me be clear, tomatoes are not poison. For many, they're harmless. But if you're over 60 and battling arthritis or unexplained joint pain, you cannot ignore the possibility that these so-called healthy foods are part of the problem. It's not about fear, it's about awareness and testing how your body reacts. I often tell my patients to try a 30-day elimination experiment. Remove tomatoes and other nightshades like potatoes, eggplants, and peppers from your meals. Then carefully track your symptoms. Does the morning stiffness improve? Do your hands feel less swollen? Are your knees less painful after walking? If the answer is yes, you may have uncovered a hidden trigger that's been holding your joints hostage for years. And here's a sobering question. If a food as common and beloved as tomatoes can quietly worsen your arthritis, what about the other vegetables in the same family? If you think tomatoes are surprising, wait until you hear about the danger lurking in one of the most ordinary staples on the senior dinner table: potatoes. For many of us, potatoes feel almost like comfort itself. Mashed with butter, roasted until golden fried to perfection, potatoes are woven into the fabric of daily meals. They're inexpensive, filling, and for decades they've been promoted as a good source of energy and potassium. But here's what most seniors never realize: potatoes are part of the same nightshade family as tomatoes, and they contain the same troublesome alkaloid compound, solanine. For aging joints already inflamed or worn down, that means every bite could be adding fuel to the fire. Let me explain. As we age, our bodies lose efficiency in filtering out certain plant chemicals. Kidneys may slow down, the liver doesn't detoxify as easily, and the immune system reacts more aggressively to perceived threats. In younger people, solanine might pass unnoticed, but in older adults, the same dose can trigger swelling, stiffness, and chronic pain. What makes potatoes especially concerning is how frequently they appear in senior diets. Unlike exotic vegetables or rare fruits, potatoes are eaten daily by millions, boiled with dinner, fried at breakfast, or baked as a healthy alternative. That constant exposure means seniors with sensitive joints may never get relief. One case that still stays with me is Mr. Cho, a 71-year-old retired bus driver. He came to my clinic limping, clutching his hip and knee. He had been told for years that he suffered from simple arthritis, and he resigned himself to living with the pain. But when I asked him to keep a food diary, a clear pattern emerged. Nearly every meal contained potatoes, hash browns in the morning, potato soup for lunch, roasted potatoes with dinner. To him, it was a cheap, versatile food. To his body, it was a constant drip of irritation. When I suggested he eliminate potatoes for 6 weeks, he was skeptical. How could something so normal be the problem, he asked. But he agreed to try. By the 3rd week, his hip pain had lessened enough that he could walk to the park again. By the 6th week, his limp was gone, and he told me he finally slept through the night without waking from throbbing pain. His face carried both relief and disbelief. How could such a common vegetable have held him back for so long? From a medical perspective, this isn't just coincidence. Solanine interferes with the way nerve endings communicate with muscles. In sensitive individuals, it worsens inflammation and reduces the smooth gliding of joints. Combine this with the natural thinning of cartilage in seniors, and the result is grinding pain, swelling, and stiffness that feels impossible to escape. Worse still, potatoes often pair with other inflammatory foods, fried oils, salty gravies, which double the damage. But here's the key. Not every senior reacts the same way. Some can enjoy potatoes without issue. The challenge is identifying whether your body is reacting. That's why I urge older adults to run their own elimination test, just like Mr. Cho. Removing potatoes for a period and tracking symptoms can be the simplest, cheapest diagnostic tool you'll ever try. No prescription, no expensive test, just mindful observation. Now think about this. If tomatoes and potatoes, two of the most familiar foods on your table, can cause so much damage in certain seniors, what about another nightshade that hides in plain sight? The vegetable many consider elegant, healthy, and packed with fiber: eggplant. Could it be quietly eroding your cartilage while you sleep? Eggplants, with their deep purple skin and soft, spongy flesh, often carry a reputation as a smart choice for healthy eating. They're low in calories, high in fiber, and packed with antioxidants like niacin, which gives their skin its striking color. Many seniors have been told to add more eggplants into their diet for weight control and heart health. But there's a darker side to this vegetable, one that is rarely mentioned. Eggplants, like tomatoes and potatoes, are part of the nightshade family. That means they also contain alkaloids that can inflame joints and over time contribute to cartilage erosion in sensitive individuals. When you think about cartilage, picture the soft padding between your bones. It's what lets your knees bend smoothly, your hips rotate freely, and your fingers grasp without pain. With age, that padding naturally thins, and once it's gone, the bones grind directly against each other. That grinding is arthritis at its most unforgiving stage. What many seniors don't realize is that certain foods can accelerate this process, breaking down cartilage faster than expected. Eggplants, while seemingly harmless, contain compounds that can irritate the joint lining and worsen degeneration. Let me share the story of Mrs. Park, a 69-year-old grandmother who loved cooking Korean dishes with eggplant. She believed eggplant was her diet-friendly food, grilled, stir-fried, or stewed. It was on her plate several times a week. But over the course of 2 years, she developed worsening pain in her hands and knees. By the time she came to me, her grip was weak, and she needed support just to walk across the room. She was convinced age had caught up with her, but when I reviewed her diet, the heavy use of eggplant stood out. I asked her to remove eggplant completely for 8 weeks. At first she thought it was silly. How could a vegetable praised for its antioxidants be harmful? But within 4 weeks, the swelling in her fingers had gone down. By the end of the trial, she could kneel during prayer again without wincing. "It feels like I've been given back years of my life," she told me, tears in her eyes. From a scientific standpoint, eggplant contains not just solanine but also other alkaloids that can trigger immune overreactions in people predisposed to arthritis. For seniors whose immune systems are already more sensitive, this reaction may look like unexplained flares, sudden swelling, throbbing pain, or stiffness that lasts for days. Pair that with age-related cartilage thinning and eggplant becomes less of a health food and more of a hidden accelerant. This doesn't mean every senior must swear off eggplant forever, but if you're living with arthritis, unexplained stiffness, or rapid joint decline, you must at least question whether foods like this are playing a role. Conduct your own elimination test, cut it out, track your symptoms, and listen closely to your body. Knowledge is your greatest ally in protecting what mobility you still have. And here's the bigger question. If eggplant, a food so often praised, can quietly worsen cartilage erosion, what about the other nightshade sitting on your plate, one that's bright, colorful, and celebrated for its vitamin C? Next, we need to talk about peppers and why those innocent slices in your salad might be silently swelling your joints. Peppers, vivid reds, greens, yellows, and oranges, are often described as nutritional powerhouses. They're rich in vitamin C, antioxidants, and fiber, and for decades they've been praised as a must-have in senior diets to support immunity and heart health. Many of my patients proudly tell me they add raw peppers to salads or cook them into stir-fries because they've heard it's good for them. And while that's true for some people, for others, especially seniors, battling arthritis, peppers may be quietly stirring up swelling in the joints. Like tomatoes, potatoes, and eggplants, peppers belong to the nightshade family. This means they contain solanine and capsaicinoids, compounds that can irritate the lining of joints. In a younger, healthier body, the immune system may shrug this off, but in seniors, where cartilage is thinner, inflammation control is weaker, and immune sensitivity is heightened, the same compounds can unleash a painful cycle of swelling, stiffness, and joint fatigue. Let me share the story of Mr. Han, a 74-year-old retired accountant. He came to me after months of worsening hand and knee pain. He could no longer button his shirt without wincing, and his morning walks had turned into short, painful shuffles. Like many seniors, he assumed this was just age, but when I reviewed his diet, peppers appeared almost daily, grilled with fish, sliced raw in his lunch, or cooked into soups. He believed they were keeping his immune system strong. I suggested he try cutting peppers out of his meals for 6 weeks. By the 3rd week, he reported something surprising. The constant puffiness in his fingers was easing. By the end of the trial, he could open jars without pain for the first time in years. His knees, while not perfect, no longer swelled after short walks. He was stunned. "Doctor, I thought peppers were helping me live longer. I didn't know they were stealing my strength," he said. Medically, the explanation is clear. Capsaicinoids, the compounds that give peppers their heat, can trigger immune responses in already sensitive joints. Even sweet bell peppers, though milder, still contain alkaloids that irritate inflamed tissues. Add to this the natural decline in collagen and joint fluid with age, and what should be a harmless vegetable can tip an already fragile system into painful flare-ups. This doesn't mean all seniors must fear peppers. Many tolerate them just fine. But if you suffer from unexplained joint pain, swollen hands, or stiffness that flares unpredictably, it's worth considering whether peppers are part of the puzzle. An elimination diet, even just for a month, can reveal more than any blood test. And here's what troubles me most. Peppers are often eaten alongside other nightshades, tomatoes in sauces, potatoes as a side dish, eggplant in stir-fries. That combination can multiply the inflammatory load, creating joint pain storms that feel impossible to escape. Now here's a question you should ask yourself. If so many vegetables we were told to trust, tomatoes, potatoes, eggplants, peppers, can quietly worsen arthritis, what about foods outside the nightshade family? Some, like soy, seem harmless but can quietly disrupt mineral balance and weaken bones over time, and that's exactly where we're heading next. For decades, soy has been marketed as a miracle food. Doctors and health magazines praised it as a heart-friendly alternative to meat packed with protein and supposedly protective against many age-related diseases. Soy milk tofu, soy-based snacks, these became staples in households worldwide. But here's the truth. Most seniors don't hear when soy is heavily processed. It can quietly undermine bone strength and joint stability. And for older adults already struggling with arthritis or fragile joints, this hidden danger can be devastating. Let's break it down. Natural soybeans in their raw form contain beneficial compounds. But once they are refined into soy protein, isolates powders, or overly processed tofu products, much of the nutritional balance is stripped away. What remains are concentrated phytoestrogens, plant-based hormones that can interfere with calcium absorption and disrupt mineral balance. For seniors whose bones are already losing density due to age, this creates the perfect storm for joint weakness, stiffness, and even fractures. One patient of mine, Mrs. Kim, a 68-year-old retired teacher, came in complaining of worsening joint pain and brittle nails. She had read online that soy milk was better than dairy and had replaced all her milk and cheese with soy products for nearly a year. At first she thought she was making a smart switch, but over time she noticed her knees grinding more painfully, her posture weakening, and even small bumps causing bruises. When we ran her bone density scan, the results showed significant thinning compared to her previous test just 2 years earlier. I advised her to reduce processed soy intake and reintroduce calcium-rich foods paired with healthy fats to aid absorption. Within 6 months, she reported less stiffness and even regained enough confidence to join her local yoga class. The change wasn't instant, but it was powerful simply by identifying the hidden culprit in her healthy diet. The mainstream fact is clear: as we age, bones naturally lose density, a condition known as osteopenia, or more severely, osteoporosis. Seniors are more vulnerable to fractures, especially in the hips, knees, and spine. What isn't discussed enough is how diet accelerates this process. Excessive processed soy not only affects calcium absorption, but may also reduce magnesium and zinc availability, two minerals critical for joint and cartilage repair. Think of it this way: your joints are like hinges on a door. Calcium and minerals keep them sturdy, aligned, and functional. Remove or weaken those minerals and the hinge loosens, squeaks, and eventually breaks. For seniors, that break might mean a hip fracture from a minor fall or knee pain so severe that climbing stairs feels impossible. Here's the crucial question: how many healthy choices have you been making that are quietly weakening your bones instead of strengthening them? If soy, so often advertised as beneficial, can erode your mineral balance, what about the oils you cook with every day? Many of them are hiding in plain sight, and they may be silently stoking the fires of inflammation inside your joints. That's the next danger we need to uncover. Every kitchen has them bottles of vegetable oil lined neatly on the counter or stored in the pantry. Corn oil, sunflower oil, soybean oil, even canola oil. They're marketed as heart-healthy, cholesterol-free, and perfect for cooking. Seniors in particular are encouraged to replace traditional fats like butter with these refined oils. But here's the reality: most don't realize these very oils, when consumed daily, can silently intensify joint inflammation, making arthritis pain worse and recovery slower. The reason lies in their composition. Most refined vegetable oils are extremely high in omega-6 fatty acids. While omega-6s are not inherently bad, balance is everything. The human body needs omega-6 and omega-3 fats in a delicate ratio. Yet the modern diet, especially for seniors, eating processed foods and cooking with refined oils, tilts that balance dramatically. Excess omega-6 promotes the production of pro-inflammatory molecules, fueling swelling in joints and amplifying pain. For someone already living with arthritis, this imbalance acts like throwing gasoline on an open flame. Consider the case of Mr. Lee, a 70-year-old former factory worker. He came to me with severe stiffness in his shoulders and knees, so much so that even lifting his arms to put on a shirt became excruciating. His medications provided only partial relief, and he was growing frustrated. When I asked about his meals, he proudly explained how he'd made the switch from butter to corn oil years ago, believing it was the healthier option. He also ate packaged snacks fried in vegetable oils almost daily. I suggested he make a change, not by adding more pills, but by swapping oils. We replaced his corn oil with extra virgin olive oil and introduced omega-3 rich foods like salmon and walnuts. Within a month, he noticed mornings weren't as stiff. After 3 months, he regained enough range of motion to return to light gardening, something he had abandoned for years. He told me, "Doctor, I thought I was eating healthy. I didn't know my oil was feeding the pain." The mainstream medical fact is this: as we age, our bodies produce fewer natural anti-inflammatory compounds. Seniors often face an imbalance tilted toward inflammation simply because of aging physiology. Now add in a diet heavy with refined vegetable oils and the balance tips further beyond what the body can handle. This leaves joints swollen, tender, and prone to painful flare-ups. Here's the biochemical piece that isn't often explained. Omega-6 fatty acids convert into arachidonic acid, which then produces prostaglandins, chemicals directly responsible for pain and inflammation. Without sufficient omega-3s to counteract this, the body remains in a constant state of low-grade inflammation. For seniors, the result is daily stiffness, fatigue, and worsening arthritis symptoms. So here's the question you need to ask yourself. What oil is sitting in your kitchen right now? Is it silently feeding your pain? The good news is, unlike some other joint triggers, this one is easier to change. Swap refined oils for healthier fats like olive oil or avocado oil, and your joints will often thank you within weeks. But oils aren't the only silent saboteurs. Even your favorite drinks, the ones you sip for comfort or energy, may be eroding your joint health in ways you'd never expect. Next, we'll uncover how sugary drinks can quietly break down the very tissues that keep your joints strong. Sugary drinks hold a special place in many daily routines. A glass of soda with lunch-sweetened iced tea on a hot afternoon, a flavored coffee pick-me-up, or even fruit juice that feels healthy. For seniors, these beverages may seem harmless, especially compared to heavier foods. But here's the truth. Sugary drinks are one of the most powerful accelerators of joint damage. They don't just cause weight gain or spikes in blood sugar, they can directly erode the tissue that keeps your joints moving smoothly. The science is sobering. Every sip of a sugar-laden drink floods your bloodstream with glucose. For older adults whose insulin sensitivity has declined with age, that sugar lingers longer. Excess glucose binds to proteins in the body through a process called glycation, forming compounds known as AGs, advanced glycation end products. These AGs stiffen collagen, the very protein that cushions your joints, making them brittle and prone to tearing. Over time, this doesn't just mean pain, it means your cartilage loses its flexibility and your joints grind with every step. Take the story of Mrs. Tron, a 73-year-old retired nurse. She visited me complaining of worsening pain in her knees and hips. Despite taking her arthritis medication faithfully, she found her symptoms growing worse each month. When I asked about her daily habits, she smiled and admitted she had a small indulgence, 2 glasses of sweetened iced tea every day. She believed it was far better than soda since it was tea. But the sugar content was staggering, nearly the same as a cola. I suggested she cut her sugary drinks completely and replace them with unsweetened herbal teas and plain water. Within 6 weeks, her swelling had reduced significantly. 3 months later, she walked into my office with a lighter step and told me I still have arthritis, but it no longer controls me. I didn't realize my tea was feeding my pain. Mainstream medicine confirms this connection. Seniors already face cartilage thinning as part of natural aging. Add in sugar-induced glycation, and that thinning accelerates. The result is earlier joint breakdown, faster arthritis progression, and even increased risk of falls due to stiffness. There's another hidden danger. Sugary drinks also cause spikes in inflammation through insulin surges. Each spike triggers the release of inflammatory cytokines, chemicals that attack the lining of the joints. Imagine pouring acid on already thinning cartilage day after day, sip after sip. That's exactly what happens when seniors rely on sweetened drinks for hydration. So the next time you reach for a sweetened beverage, ask yourself, is this momentary pleasure worth the long-term damage? The comfort of a sweet drink might last minutes, but the stiffness it fuels can steal years of mobility. But sugary drinks are only part of the picture. Some seniors unknowingly consume another common food that can be just as destructive: red meat. Eaten in excess, it doesn't just strain the heart, it can flood your joints with uric acid crystals, igniting pain sharper than anything sugar could cause. And that's exactly what we'll uncover next. For many seniors, a hearty serving of red meat feels like strength on a plate. A sizzling steak, a comforting beef stew, or even a simple burger can bring back memories of youth, hard work, and family gatherings. Meat has long been associated with vitality and energy, but when consumed in excess, especially for those over 60, red meat can become a silent trigger for arthritis flare-ups, inflaming joints in ways that are both painful and dangerous. The problem lies in 2 main factors: purines and saturated fats. Red meat is rich in purines, compounds that, when broken down, form uric acid. In healthy younger bodies, uric acid is usually filtered out efficiently, but as the kidneys age, their filtering capacity declines. This means uric acid can accumulate in the bloodstream, crystallizing in joints and sparking sudden excruciating attacks of gout, a condition often misdiagnosed as just arthritis. Add to this the high levels of saturated fat found in many cuts of red meat, which can worsen inflammation and reduce blood flow, and you have a recipe for chronic grinding pain. I'll never forget Mr. Young, a 67-year-old retired mechanic who came to me clutching his swollen ankle. The joint was red hot and so painful he could barely put weight on it. He assumed he had sprained it while working in his garden, but after a few questions the picture became clear. He had been eating beef stew nearly every evening, proud of the protein boost it gave him. What he didn't realize was that his kidneys, no longer as efficient as they once were unable to handle the daily purine load. The result? A gout flare that felt like his ankle was on fire. After adjusting his diet, reducing red meat to occasional portions and introducing more plant-based proteins, his flare-ups decreased dramatically. Within 2 months, he was walking comfortably again and his ankle swelling was gone. He told me, "Doctor, I thought meat was keeping me strong. I didn't know it was breaking me down." Mainstream medical research supports this. Seniors naturally produce less collagen and joint fluid, both of which keep joints lubricated. Excess uric acid and saturated fats accelerate the decline, creating an environment where joints become swollen, stiff, and painful. Even worse, recurring gout flares can permanently damage joint tissue, leaving seniors vulnerable to long-term disability. And here's a biochemical fact that often surprises people. Uric acid crystals don't just sit quietly in the joints. They actually trigger immune cells to release cytokines which amplify inflammation throughout the entire body. That means too much red meat doesn't just attack your ankle or knee. It can worsen systemic inflammation, increasing your risk for heart disease, kidney disease, and even cognitive decline. This isn't to say red meat must be eliminated entirely. Small occasional portions balanced with vegetables, omega-3 rich fish, and whole grains can be safe for many. But the danger lies in frequency and portion size. For seniors, more protein does not always mean more strength. Sometimes it means more pain. And now we arrive at the most important part of this journey: what to do about all of it. After walking through tomatoes, potatoes, eggplants, peppers, soy oils, sugary drinks, and red meat, you might be wondering what's left. What can you eat with confidence, knowing your joints will be protected, not destroyed? That's exactly what we'll explore in the final section, where I'll share safe alternatives and practical rules to keep your joints strong and pain-free for years to come. We've walked a long road together through this journey, one that may have felt unsettling at times. You've heard how foods you thought were harmless or even healthy can silently inflame your joints, erode cartilage, and accelerate the pain of arthritis. Tomatoes, potatoes, eggplants, peppers, soy-refined oils, sugary drinks, and red meat, all common staples, can in sensitive seniors quietly chip away at mobility and independence. But now it's time to shift from fear to empowerment. Because the truth is this: just as certain foods can harm your joints, others can nourish, protect, and even restore them. Aging does not mean surrendering to endless pain. With the right knowledge, you can take control, eat wisely, and give your joints the support they desperately need. Let's start with safe, joint-friendly alternatives. First, berries. Blueberries, strawberries, and raspberries are loaded with antioxidants and flavonoids that actively fight inflammation. Unlike nightshades, which can irritate joints, berries calm them. Seniors who eat berries regularly often notice reduced swelling and improved mobility because these compounds neutralize free radicals that otherwise damage cartilage. Second, avocados. These creamy fruits provide healthy fats, vitamin E, and potassium. More importantly, they contain compounds called phytosterols, which reduce inflammation. Replacing processed oils with avocado or olive oil can dramatically reduce stiffness in older adults. Third, fatty fish, like salmon, sardines, and mackerel. Rich in omega-3 fatty acids, these foods directly counteract the inflammatory effects of omega-6s found in refined oils. Seniors who add fatty fish to their diets often report easier mornings, less stiffness, and improved cardiovascular health, all crucial for staying active. Fourth, leafy greens such as spinach, kale, and bok choy. These vegetables are packed with calcium, magnesium, and vitamin K, all essential for bone strength and joint function. They don't contain the alkaloids that aggravate arthritis, making them safe and protective. Fifth, nuts and seeds like walnuts, flax seeds, and chia seeds. These provide plant-based omega-3s and crucial minerals for cartilage repair. For seniors avoiding red meat, they're an excellent alternative source of protein that does not inflame joints. And finally, turmeric and ginger. Though not foods in the traditional sense, these spices contain potent anti-inflammatory compounds. Seniors who use turmeric in soups or teas often experience a noticeable reduction in joint pain thanks to curcumin's ability to calm the immune system's overreaction. Of course, it's not only about what you eat, it's also about how. Here are some practical, joint-safe rules for eating as you age. Eat earlier in the day. Late-night meals often worsen inflammation and stiffness. Give your body time to digest before bed. Pair fruits with protein or fat. This slows sugar absorption and prevents inflammation from blood sugar spikes. Avoid eating problem foods daily. Even if you don't feel immediate effects, long-term accumulation causes damage. Stay hydrated with water or unsweetened teas. Dehydration makes cartilage brittle and prone to injury. Rotate your foods. Variety reduces the risk of overexposure to inflammatory compounds. I want you to remember something important. You are not powerless. I've seen seniors who could barely climb a step regain the ability to garden play with grandchildren or walk freely simply by learning which foods were hurting them and which ones could heal. Your body may be aging, but it is always listening, always responding to what you put inside it. So tonight, as you prepare your next meal, ask yourself, will this food calm my joints or inflame them? The answer to that single question can change the course of your days, your comfort, and even your independence. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so more seniors can learn how to protect their joints and live pain-free. Take care of your body, take care of your joints, and never forget you hold the power to change your health one bite at a time.